Awesome to welcome University of North Florida head coach Matthew Driscoll to the Basketball Podcast. Coach Driscoll is the all-time winningest coach in ASUN history and has won over 250 games at North Florida. He's a three-time ASUN Coach of the Year and was the NABC District 3 Coach of the Year in 2014-15. Driscoll has led the Osprey teams to multiple ASUN regular season titles, an ASUN tournament championship, and 2 national postseason appearances. In 2015, the NCAA tournament, in 2016, the NIT. Driscoll boasts an impressive record, having mentored 13 of UNF's 18 1,000-point scorers, while leading his teams to hold at nearly every program record. He's also known for guiding UNF to victories over powerhouse programs like Purdue and Illinois. Before coming to University of North Florida, Driscoll spent 12 years as an assistant coach at Baylor University, Valparaiso University, Clemson University, and the University of Wyoming.
So like, for instance, DHO shooting. So why are we doing it? We do a ton of DHOs. Why are we doing it specifically? Because everybody plays you differently. So you got to have a solution. We always talk about solutions. That's what we tell our guys. We're here to give you solutions to a problem. Like when they go under, blow their face off. And here's what it looks like. There might be 2 or 3 different things. And Chaz Lanier is a great example. If you watch his footwork and you see the different things he does, it's all trained because he knows if they're going to, we just talk about if-then statements. Like if this, then this. If this, then have solutions. Because it's crazy, Chris. There's a play last year. I'm not going to say the team, but we do some, and again, we do things oddly that you wouldn't agree with and somebody else wouldn't agree with, and that's okay. Because COVID, like for 16 years, we called it 3 on a side.
Yep.
We get to COVID and all I hear is like Zoom, Zoom, Zoom. We've been doing this for 16 years. Well, so like we start this Zoom stuff, right? So this year, I had him breakfast this morning with a guy and he said, and it goes on what you and I talked about yesterday, like, where are you at right now? And the word is patience. Like I'm really trying to be more and more patient, which with me, I could really coach guys hard and know that by their sophomore year, their junior year, that those things, Chaz Lanier, they all come to fruition. Now it's different, right? So the Zoom stuff, right? And I told Chaz, like he went to the NBA stuff and what do they call stuff? What's their terminology? I want to try to help him get better. And me personally, this is the first year we've ever called it Zoom. We're going to call it Zoom. And I said, we ain't calling it gut up the middle. It's still going to be Zoom when it's 3. And so as I move through all this stuff, I want to be better. I want to become better. I want their terminology to understand what that looks like. But the part that really excites me so last year, you lose all these guys. You started at South Florida, started at FIU, back up to Oklahoma State, 600-point score, graduates. You're picked 11th out of 12. Like you understand that, right? And you actually, since your last championship team, you actually finished the best you've ever finished in your league with 7 new guys. And 1 guy that averaged 5 points a game that came back and 2 other guys that were whatever. And I get people telling me, of course, that's the best coaching job you've ever done. And I'm like so pissed off. I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. Like we've won championships. Like you have no clue how hard that is. But then I started thinking like, why? Because we know, you and I know that simple, sophisticated. And we know that our offensive system's always on point. However, the guys have got to get to that point. How do they get there? You got to play, 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 you got to see it, you got to do it, you got to touch it, you got to feel it, you got to smell it, you got to, all that stuff, right? So now last summer, guess what we got to do? Foreign tour. So now we got these dudes, we can want a foreign tour. And now I'm like, man, we got a chance. And that's how I feel about this group. And though we don't have the foreign tour, I say to myself, okay, this is incredible, 15 years stuff. This is incredible. The 3 championships, it's incredible. All that stuff's great. Okay, what did you do this summer with this kind of new guy? Go back and look, and you could take all this and burn it all. And I don't mean that disrespectfully to anything. I'm just telling you, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't echo in a thimble, and it has no bearings to what we do. So I do this, and you're gonna feel great about yourself because. So I build this master schedule of what we're going to accomplish for the summer and whatnot. And then I go to Europe for 2 weeks on our 30th anniversary. And I'm doing all this stuff and I'm thinking all these things and I'm texting and emailing and I'm getting all this stuff right. Because a week back, we're going to start summer. And I get off the plane and I'm walking through the Miami airport to get, this is 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, to get a car to drive back. And I text the staff, we have one player out of 14 who's going to come to this summer meeting that's only been with the program longer than 1 calendar year.
Wow.
And I'm like, what am I doing? And okay, fast forward, start first day here, and then I just said to the staff, I'm like, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. We're getting through these things. And then we're going at it. And so it's been, you got to have foundation. You got to have fundamentals. You got to do, and I'll tell you something that I've grown with that too, but.
Can I first welcome you to the podcast, Coach Driscoll?
Oh yeah, it's great. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for having me. The last time we were on, how many signs were behind me? I don't even know. This is our 12th theme.
I'm just going to tell coaches, if you get a chance, go watch the video too on YouTube, Basketball Immersion YouTube, because Coach Driscoll's worth it just to see him move his computer around.
But that's
my friend.
That's a good story in and of it. You stayed at my house 27 years ago.
So I was having a memory. Forget about that one. How about when me and my daughters and my wife came to visit you in Jacksonville?
Yeah, that
and
was awesome.
My daughters, now 11 and 13, remember a few things. And you know what they remembered? The cookie jar.
Oh, wow. Not putting their hand in.
Yeah. Not putting their hand in. And
Yeah.
It was a literal cookie jar.
But this year's theme, play to win, the confidence to finish. And those guys last year at the end of their evaluations kept saying that. It kept coming up. We were a surprise to everybody. We were fighting for first place halfway through. We lost 2 really bad home games, which we lost on last seconds, but we lost 2 bad home losses. And so they kept on talking about that but anyways, going back to this. So now playing 3-on-3, we're doing not all, but it's been almost all 3-on-3, 4-on-4. That's it. And we did have a set. Go ahead.
No, I want to bring this back a little bit for coaches because, okay, number one, the dribble handoff is not hard. The solution on the dribble handoff is hard. And that's what you were initially talking about, is focusing on their solution and getting them to the point that they can make a solution that benefits not just you, but them as well.
That's something I thought we've done really well, Chris. And I think that's why our offense is always so good. We have these different, it's on one of these pages. We have these different things we do that are all either zoom or middle drag, side pick and roll with a naked side, whatever it is, and everybody gets a shot. But there's certain things that are built into it. And we'll have managers or coaches. It just depends on certain places, either hedging them and smacking at the ball or doing whatever it is we're doing. And so I don't know if that's air for you, but whatever. But
just for the record, it's not air. Because there's distracting information and visual stimuli.
Right. I like that. So, but we called it, like, for instance, you just said something like a Bogard. So you DHO and you come over, a lot of people try to blow it up. So they try to get up in the dude and smack at the ball. And you better have a solution for that. And so there's these various things we do. But the 3-on-3, the 4-on-4, but we do still play a lot of 1-on-1. And I'll give you a little background to that too, is playing 1-on-1 in basketball is huge because you do have to guard the ball. And then you do have to play inside the arc. And then you do have to play inside the lane, which stay on your feet and walling up and all those. I think you even talked about walling up the other day. We actually do that when you were showing that. We do that. We play tight 1-on-1 where basically you might not even need a dribble because you're already in. We call it the red zone. One of our players came up with it. We used to call it the scoring area. And then he said, Coach, it's like the red zone in football. And I thought, that's pretty good. So we use
You're talking about the charge circle, which we call the smile. Yeah, great.
No, ours is women's hash to women's hash, up the lane, basically NBA width. So 2 more feet. And then across the between the first and second hash. So we call that the red zone, where angles become different, things become tighter, pivoting becomes even that much more critical. And so we talk about those specifics inside the red zone, just like in football, 20 yards out. Why? It should be easier to score, not hard. So same theory. But like even your thing you did with that lady the other day, So we'll play one-on-one there too. And what's crazy is I had a guy come up to me at the Final Four a couple of years ago, and he said, Coach, we vote every year on our favorite drill. And your drill actually was the favorite offense and defense. And the guys love playing one-on-one QBT, yada, yada, yada. And so there's a great translation to it. But I'm going to tell you something that this is not, I don't know what you call this, and I'd be interested to see if you call this air. And we're all over the place right now, but we're going to go back to what I said earlier about 13 guys. So during COVID, we had just come off a championship team again, our third championship team, and we're really special, like 1.18 OER. And everyone want pace and space, right? Pace and space. I did talk about pace and space. We've been like that from the beginning. We've been rolling replace from the beginning. There's a guy in our league that did a podcast for somebody. He actually praised us. They said, who's the hardest team to guard in the league? And everybody thought he was going to say Bellarmine or Lipscomb. And he actually praised us. But he also praised us on both sides of the ball. Because people ask that all the time. Like, what do you stand for here? We stand for the same thing on both sides. On offense, we want layups and dunks and wide open threes. And we had the all-time leading best free throw shooting team this year in the history of our program. And on defense, the same thing.
Basketball is a game of opposites.
Yeah.
It's simple, isn't it?
Yeah, no layups and dunks. We're a huge POV, rim, all that. No threes. We're one of the best three-point teams because we're different. We run and jump, and but people got to coach against it. I could tell you some funny stories. People got to coach against it because it's different. It's different. And then we try to be minimal phallus. But as you go through this and you do these certain things and you're awkward about whatever you're awkward about, it's irrelevant. So he said it was the best one-on-one or whatever. So when COVID came and everybody's asking me, and I said, first of all, the most important thing about what we call it is not pace or space. The most important thing is embrace. If you don't believe, and that's the thing, guys, we took 1,063 threes last year. We led the country in makes again. Like, we're going to shoot threes. And if you don't accept that and embrace that, you're unintelligent. I thought that, no, don't think. Don't think. Just catch and shoot or catch and rip. Don't take thinking out of it. Like, I'm trying to help you make your life easier. And so as you go through this, you got to embrace what you're about. And I realized, and I think this is, you got to give me the judge on this because you and I differ about certain things. When I blow the whistle, so let's say we're doing 4-on-3 scramble because we get in a ton of rotations because of the way we guard the three. So we got to be good in rotations. So we're doing 4-on-3, right? But it's live managers attacking versus our players. And there's a reason because we're in season or whatever. I blow the whistle. When I blow the whistle, that three group, they go. And we throw a ball to them. And we call that fast and furious. And we're playing fast and furious on a speaker. And now whoever gets the ball, I'll tell them something that particular day. Whoever starts with it has to shoot it. Whoever starts with it, the last one to touch it of the three, whatever it is I say. I never pay attention to that because I'm guarding the rotations. I'm always worried about that. And then I realized how good we were at going from defense to offense. So does that come into play? Is that air or how's that work?
Pace and space and embrace, just to bring that home for coaches, the key part being embrace. What you just said, look, I'm not anti anything. I have coached too long to sit here and go that something is wrong. But I do think there are better ways. And the one thing that I do rally against is practice that isn't mindful. It's like there's zero thinking, meaning you memorize, you regurgitate, you do it. So your example there, even though they're going on air without defense going the other way, it's mindful because they've got to process. They've got to think, right? They've got to figure things out. And you adding another cognitive load to it of calling out something adds another cognitive load. So that helps better transfer and connect information for them to the game. That's all I'm saying. So that's bang on.
It's interesting about what you just said because we got to go in there now because I might forget.
We can go there.
You'll figure it out. When we do these things, like somebody asked me the other day, and I said, there's 4 or 5 things that I realized that have really helped us. For instance, when we do 5-on-0 now, there's a lot of different ways we do it in going.
Yeah.
One of the ways is that there's all 5 guys are getting a shot in the same transition. But the guy with the ball, the lead guard after the make, he's making the initial decision. and everybody else is doing what they're doing. And then we give the lead guard the last ball. You're going to think this is nuts, but Dallas, I'd call that and I'd like D, like 2 for 8 from 3 tonight. Come on, for real? He's coach, man. They keep giving me the ball 4 seconds ago. What am I going to do? He's like, I got no choice. And I thought, okay. So what we do with the lead guard at the end is once he makes his play, we get a trail 3 with a rub and we get a corner pitch ahead drift, everything that we get within our stuff. We throw him the ball and then he has to be the last shooter and everything's got to be rhythm. Like the clock's running down and he's got to do something different every time. And he's got to get into whatever he's got to get into, whether it be a Staskis, step back, whatever it is. And so trying to help, and it's amazing how many of those we've made or how many of those we've gotten or we've taken. And so I feel good about that. But
let me support you again then. Let me support you again. You are connecting the game to individual player development. To me, that's the problem is we silo all these things. Oh, let's go do all these moves separate from the game. So you're connecting both. So I think it's great. I don't think you're as crazy as you think I think you are.
The second,
well, you are crazy, but in a different way, coach.
We still do weave, but I'm gonna tell you why though. So the other thing we do is 2 ball, like a second ball.
Yeah.
The reason is because number 1, you always want the guys to run, but also 2, we're really good. And I tell the guy, it cannot be the same thing every time. So it either has to be a pitch to the rim, it's got to be across the floor, or skip to the rim, it's got to be a straight to the rim, and then sometimes I'll say that the rim's got to make the play, meaning he's got to start the play, so he can't score. And it's amazing how many times that happens in the game where we throw it to him, but a guy's underneath him or something happens, and he's got to make a play to either a drift or a grenade or something like that. But anyways.
No, but can I just say also, to me, what you're describing is the fun part of coaching, is that you are constantly adding loads of challenge to them to try and figure things out. And that's beautiful. That's what it is. That's development to me.
This is going back to what you said earlier about mastering the change, right? And so the last part of it is we throw a second ball. So now there's like, I don't know, 26. We put 26 on a shot clock, something like that. But I'll tell the guys, like, we're shooting at 15, but it's all on our terms. So middle drag, roll, and replay. And I'll tell them, like, you got to play off a drift. You got to play off a grenade. You got to play off of a Euro. Like, you got to play off of a Euro to, like, you've got to get a pass, not a Euro to score, a Euro to make a pass, or a high hop through to land to make a pass, or Barkley in the post, whatever it is. But what I like is, this is just my opinion, what I like is, if I say 15, you like, we got to shoot at 15. Like at 15, we've got to get our shot on our terms at that particular moment. Not, oh, it's 15, I got to shoot it. Not that. But like as closest to 15 on our stuff. And that's really bode well for us too, and paid really good dividends for us as well.
It brings attentional awareness to players, which again, you're making them mindful. And Fran Furcello, Brian Benjamin, the 2 last podcasts I did, basically that covered a little bit of 3-on-3, they both talked about shorter clocks, right? And playing with shorter clocks to increase attentional focus and those different things that you go with it. The part I really want to come back to, coach, which I think is the part that it's so easy to do and it's so brilliantly simple, is you essentially tell players, and you said it different phrasing, don't do the same thing 2 times in a row, right? If you just say that to your players when you're doing on-air type practice type stuff, then you are making it more mindful than repetitive, rote learning, where you just memorize, regurgitate. No, skip that. Just make it, just do something different every time.
So we were rotating through development, and I went upstairs because we have to, because of some stuff. And I went upstairs for that group, and coach we were not fouling was a bad word, but also too coming out, teaching them how to grab the arm and smack it down and do all those kind of things, right? And the one new guy, I think it was twice in a row, or maybe 3. Anyways, he did the same thing. And I said, listen, bro, like, you ain't getting better. Like, why are you doing the same thing? You can't do the same thing every time. If not, then you're always going to have the same solution, which is not good. And so we really try to not over, and that's the other thing too, even like with rim runners and all those kind of guys, you can't finish the same way. So it might be a catch to the other side. It might be a catch, other side pivot coming back. It might be a boozer where you're faking up and come, whatever it is, just keep being different, because then you got more options.
That's
But
it.
going back-
That's
but
exactly
going
what
back-
I'm saying. Yeah.
But going back to the weave. So the thing I love, and I'll always do it, and I can't remember, I think we call it, there's 4 things or 5, I think we call it perfection something, not what Shy called it, not peer pressure, but it's similar. But I'm gonna tell you what I really learned from it is we all want to have a player coach team. And the more you allow these guys to have that ability to speak that way, and I'm actually getting way, way better at it, where I'm like, okay, good, finish. And then they say what I was going to say. And so, like, to have those guys talk about like doing this, but when they fail, when they get in that comfortability, when they get in that, there's 8 seconds left and we're going to make it, and the guy, like all that kind of stuff, it happens every single year. It happens. Usually it's the young guys or the guy that can't handle success. And you really start coaching those things about the fine details and the confidence to finish. And the littlest detail makes the biggest difference. And how are you going to do these particular, all that stuff. And so for me, that's why I love the specifics of it. And then we've added to it, like you'll get a kick and giggle out of this one. And I don't even think you remember it, the Laker drill, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And the thing I love about the Laker drill is a lot, but the best thing I love about the Laker drill is when you go Laker to Heat. And now you're doing the Laker drill, and then next thing you know, you're playing 3-on-2 with a trail because the guy who shoots the layup has got to come find coach, smack my hand. And then he's late getting to the party, and those guys are putting it on him. And then if you score, you're jumping the ball, and it's just right. And now you're coming back 3-on-3 full court, and it's coming. And it's, to me, I like that transition. I like the way in which that flows with us.
So Laker drills 3-on-0 passing up the floor and
up and back.
Yeah, up and back. So I added different loads to it where we would start from both ends. So 2 teams would go at the same time.
Wow.
So that'd be 2 different things like that. We would add.
That's dangerous, boy.
I know. We would add defense. So different types of people in the way, coaches, assistant coaches. So it just became, there's this distracting information and visual stimuli rather than just, okay, I just memorize a pattern and I follow the pattern. And that's what you're talking about. Can you go back? Can you explain, because it seems like an insider conversation sometimes for people. Can you explain the peer pressure drill that you were just referenced a little bit from Coach Shai?
So first of all, the weave, we do it extremely tight. The 4th one always has to be a bounce pass.
I should have worn my t-shirt for you, Coach.
But the 4th one has to be a bounce pass, which is really critical.
Yeah.
So you talk about communication overload and what these guys are saying back here and how they're communicating it with them. I make guys come and smack my hand when they get back. There's certain little nuances that we do with it. And then when you get to so we got to do, I think it's 21 in 2 minutes or something like that. We usually only do it for a minute. And the other thing too, you'll love about this is once we get into the season, we'll do it for 3 trips. And I'll just, all right, here we go. Next, we're doing, and like, hey, we got this kind of energy, we got this kind of pop. Let's go. We're just going to keep moving. So then it makes it a little bit more different. But
do you still time all your stuff, all your drills?
when you say time,
do you have a time on your practice plan for a drill, or do you just, it's mostly based on feel now? I go, okay, we're like you just said,
yeah, it says
5 minutes for this drill,
5
but
minutes,
we're good. Yeah.
No, and our guy at the clock knows that move to the next thing, and he moves to the next thing. So sometimes we get done earlier. So it's really not, and our timing guy's great. But then the Laker one, so you're throwing it to the side, you're throwing it back, guys getting a layup. It's very similar to weave, but here's the beauty is when you do, okay, 10 Lakers and 12 weaves, and they have to figure it out. They got to communicate it to each other. Now, I have never done this, but now your stimulus thing, what if you did a weave and a Laker every other one?
Mix it up, make it random and variable. So they have to figure it out and think.
Wow, that would
randomly on the fly. This is my thing is, okay, look, I wouldn't do them, but I'm okay with it because my only thing is just don't do it that they get to memorize the pace, the speed. And we get pissed off at kids for screwing up the weave. But they're not screwing up the weave because the weave is hard. They're screwing up the weave because it's actually boring and they know it's not purposeful. So doing it as part of a routine, doing it as part of a purpose, and then loading it with different types of perceptual challenges or obviously mental challenges, cognitive challenges, that's good.
That's where you got to overcome the mundane.
Yeah.
And be able to get through whatever that looks like.
Look, my main thing against some of these things, and from NBA coaches on down, when I presented things, It's okay. Why are you doing them? Do you think it's helping your team develop? And do you think it's helping your
100%.
individual players develop? And if it's not, it's fluff and you're just
Right,
doing
I
it to
get it.
do it.
No,
And
for us, I think I'm very into it. I like when we do it. We don't do it all that often.
but it's
If
part
we're
of your
gonna do-
culture, right? It's part of your
Yeah,
culture.
yeah.
That's
But
it's a
if you skip something, that's normally the thing we skip.
yeah, of course. Like it's because at the end of the day, it's not as good as playing 3-on-3 and working on solutions at a dribble handoffs.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Go ahead.
But to go back to mastering this change, as you get older and as you've had success, in the last 11 years, we've never finished in the bottom half of the league. 8 of those years we finished 4th or higher, and 3 of them were championship teams. So the sustainability is there. Yet the group that was here last year that was new could be with absolutely nothing coming back with except 5. Leading scorer was 5, couple guys with 5 points a game. And then you're actually battling for first, you end up finishing 5th. And you say to yourself, how does that come to fruition? And the league was really good. The league's always good, but the league was really good again. And you say, how did you get them on the, we all know, at least I think we all know, that simple's sophisticated. So when you can master the simple, then everything else becomes that much more when they decide to blitz early, take the ball out of Chaz's hand, then see what you're going to do. Our other guys can make plays, and we do lead the country in 3, so that's okay. Chaz may not score tonight, but we're still going to win because we understand that. So that part really has me thinking, and it's changed my entire summer approach to where we're just, and I can see it on film. I just sent out their second week voiceovers, and I can see it already. The way in which we defend the 3, the way in which we defend certain things, the way in which we play on offense, and we do certain things because of certain reasons, which is different than what maybe the modernization that you were talking about. Like, people like to cut from the corner.
Yeah.
And if you remember, coming out of COVID, it was cut from the 45. It was burn the 45 coming out of COVID. I think it was. And then all of a sudden now it's burn the corner and send a flare to the drift, to the 45 to the drift, yada, yada, yada. Things are different, whatever you want to say. I like the way we do certain things because I like the way we do certain things. And because of that, we've had success. So I keep that kind of philosophy, and I watch this other stuff and I say, okay, how can we do this and this? And how can we piece some of this into it? Because I know at the end of the day, when you do this, or you do this, or you do this, at the end of the day, they might be better than you. So conceptually, what can you do? What do your guys know? What are the solutions at this moment? Okay, I'm going dribble at, I'm in a zoom, this guy's mashing out. Now I might have 2 zooms on both sides, and we do so much heavy roll and replace that even Dorian James, who you would and I would, we all would call Rondo, missed his first 16 threes 2 years ago, broke the record for the best 3-point percentage in one season this year. He only shot 48%. He only took 50 threes, but he made 24. In our system, if you do what you're supposed to, the way you're supposed to do it, things like that transpire for you. And so to me, I think where the modernization comes into play, it's not the heavy threes, because we've been that way, right? But what I think is we shot 62% at the rim. How does that happen? If you want to come, we're spraying, right? We're playing and spraying. And if you don't, now it goes back to your development. It goes back to the noodles and the car washes. And I forget what you called them, not OODA loops. What did you call them?
Oh my God, no.
Not OODA loops. When people get in the way, when there's things you throw at them, what do you call it? Stimuli.
Yeah, distracting information, visual stimuli.
When you throw stimuli at, for instance, whether you like this or not, whether you think it's whatever or not, when I sent this to our family chat, the high major guys that are in my family chat, the Coach Drew Tree, they loved it. Did you see Mike Tyson when he was preparing for the fight and he was beating that guy that wears that big pad?
Yeah.
That's how we practice POVs against us on offense.
Yeah.
So some of our coaches and some of our managers, they'll come over and they'll POV guys. And when you do, that thing is hard as a rock and it throws you off your deal to try to get a finish. And so like those kind of things, in my opinion, those are what help us to be that good of finishers and that good of, I'll tell you what else, Chris, we're really good at. Like we're really good at late 3 passes. Like I'm getting all the way almost to the rim, and it's good. I see it's going to be a little bit difficult. And then we call it a blind squirrel. I know it's a whiskey, but I don't drink, but we just call it a blind squirrel. Like, just throw it. Now, that guy's got to be drift. That guy's got to be break. That guy's got to be 45. That guy's got to be slot or top or whatever he calls. But you have a lot of, and that's another thing too, like jump passes, jump the pass. I don't care. Euro to pass, hop through the pass, jump. We practice the hooks and the snaps, jump in the air and turn your hips and snap. I don't care how you do it. Just don't jump to find a pass. Just jump to pass and knowing what you're doing. And like layoffs, like we're real big. We had a nice one on Wednesday. Guy went downhill, got the guy to jump up the POV, and he just threw it straight down. Like, just drop it. Just go straight down and drop it. Don't try to be cute. Drop it. Let it bounce off the floor. Take the energy off the floor and go score the ball. Let that energy just take you straight up to score the ball.
So modernization has a lot of connotations. So I don't want to go down there, but like really most of my things are around teaching and learning. But what you're talking about in terms of tactics, I think, and I could be wrong, so I want to hear your opinion. What I think has modernized from really good coaches like yourself is that the game has become more conceptual in the sense that you're not controlling it as much and you're allowing players the freedom to be able to find solutions because you practice in such a way that they can find solutions. So instead of the system or the drill being the solution, the basketball player is the solution. And to me, that's a reflection of so many good modern coaches in that sense.
And that's what like all the NBA guys, when they were calling by Chaz, and then once the Power 5 guys, once he came out or whatever, but once all the NBA stuff, once all that stuff started, I get the same question so many times. Like, coach, you got to explain how he went from 5 to 20. And I said, apparently Dean Smith was the greatest defender against Michael Jordan. And maybe it's me, but I don't think so. We've always believed in him. He just didn't believe in himself like us. But his junior year, 19 games in the ASUN, the first 14, he scores 45 points. He's playing 20-some minutes a game. And we're asking him to be more aggressive. And now he's got Jose Placer, starts at USF, Jerry Sicklin, back up at Oklahoma State. Like, he got Carter Henderson. He got dudes, right? But they still needed him, right? The last 5 games of the year, he averaged 11 a game, shot 62% from 3. And what flipped? Like, what did that? And if I showed you his evaluation at the end of that summer or that March leading into last year, this past season is great. The very last sentence says, and if you do, it'll be an amazing story that we'll be able to tell for years to come. And it all came to fruition. But he always had the tools. We thought we trained him well. He just needed the opportunity, because you can't have success without opportunity, right? Preparation's great, but without opportunity, those things don't match.
And these stories will happen more and more with the way the landscape is.
I don't disagree with you. And I think what's going to happen is Nate Litteris, Longwood, he just wasn't the right fit for him. But man, when he comes here, he's got a chance to be preseason all-league. And Jake Vanderheiden shot 42% from 3 last year, and he barely did anything at Bucknell. But again, he got his skill set, right? Here's what we say. Like, we're looking for round pegs to put in round holes. I'm really not good at, I got a hammer, but I ain't really good at, I don't like doing that. And
of course, you have a hammer in your office.
Of course. But the key is like putting that round peg in the hole. And then once we get going, like there's a dude we got, and I might be way off, but he didn't play last year because he was hurt, missed a whole year. Coach, why would you take him? Because when he was a freshman at Columbia, he averaged 12 and 5 as a freshman in the Ivy League. So he put it in the books. He's done it under the lights. Now he's got to get his confidence back, and he's got to get his feel back, and yada, yada, yada. But he can shoot the pee out of it. He played in that Princeton. He knows how to find guys, and he has good feel for different guys doing different stuff. And his conceptual ability is a little bit greater, right? And so I'm just super excited about that kind of scenario that's presenting itself. But mastering this change is changing me to say, no, we got to cut it way down. Just do this and this and just play and let them, like some of our freshmen. But I will say this, Chris, on the flip side of it, you got to coach them hard, and you got to coach them to understand. And I'm going to give you, here's a great example. Jalen Smith was all freshman, came up to me Tuesday, maybe. He said, man, coach, you really haven't gotten into anybody yet this summer. And I said, son, I said, a couple things you better understand. I said, first of all, last year was a little bit different. This was all new to me, this kind of transition. And when you got that growth, when you were a freshman last year, if I wouldn't have coached you the way I coached you, believing in you the way I believed in you, knowing that the importance of it, when Dimitri tore his ACL in the very first ASUN League game, and you were playing 11 minutes a game behind him, now you're going to play 30. And if I start coaching you hard at 30 minutes, you're going to be completely whacked. Oh, now I'm starting out. Now you're going to. So if I'm consistent and I love you and I build a relationship and I have him for video. He's one of my video guys. And so as I watch him during video during the season, and so that's where the other day when he said it, I'm like, wow, I haven't really got into anybody, but I'm trying to help them or allow them to grow a little bit through what we're trying to do through this transition.
To a certain extent, I could be wrong, but you don't know what to get into them about yet.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're still figuring them out, aren't you?
Yeah, but I usually don't waste much time with that. Like everything else in life, expectations are great, but standards are the pinnacle. Like these are our standards. And I guess a good example would be, and that's the thing about this group that's a little bit different. There's no one's casual. Sometimes you get that casual guy that thinks, I know this is what coach really, no, like you really got to go hip through your ear. Like when you come at this DHO, like you got to go hip through your ear. You can't be haphazard. You can't be doing this because the Bogart guy's going to win. But if you go hip through your ear, we had it twice already this summer. Like you go hip through your ear, and now let's say you're the corner zoom guy coming up, and let's say the guy came off it and you couldn't hand it to him. Man, you throw that lefty push pass right here to him, give and go. He caught it, threw a snap pass to him, boom, he gets a layup. But if he'd have been haphazard and he'd have been out here, the guy would have bumped his arm or the guy would have done whatever. Now you don't have those particular scenarios.
Do you have to coach effort as much
No.
than you did 20 years ago? I would think not, right?
Not
Which is
with
freeing
these
as a
guys.
coach.
Not with, what'd you say?
Which is freeing as a coach, right? You don't have to coach effort.
And now that you said that, I actually haven't thought about that. But now that I do all their video in the summer, I do them all. Like in the season, the staff takes certain guys, but in the summer, I like to help build that relationship because there are, a lot of new guys, whatever. No, the effort it's not there. And guys playing through stuff and body language and all those things. And it's been really good. It's been really good. Yeah.
And I'm curious, do you think because that's a lot of transfers that have already been exposed to it? Or is it just, I find that even coaching like AAU, like 11-year-old girls, I don't feel I have to coach effort. I don't know why. It's just different now, but they have such a hunger to learn. And I love that aspect of it. Do you feel the same from these type of players now that they feel there's an opportunity? It's like a new opportunity. And if I take advantage of it, good things can happen.
I say this not to be anything, and it doesn't matter that it's on your podcast or not. But Chaz, I told the guys at the beginning, if you come in here and you're trying to be Chaz or do what Chaz did, then you're going to fail. If you come in here to do what you're supposed to do, the way you're supposed to do it at a high level, and you continue to take your talents and treasures, and like it says in Matthew, don't bury it in the sand, continue to expound upon it and grow them, then everything else will take care of itself. For tomorrow's worries are way too big, right? And with Chaz specifically, I brought the two freshmen in. Two freshmen, Division I kids started. One was all league, and he was a backup the whole first half of the season until the kid tore his ACL. The other kid, we were going to redshirt. Like he was like a kid that would have been at a high major school as like a 11th, 12th, or 13th scholarship because he had that much talent, but not in a transfer portal world. So in the spring, he was available. Somebody came in and left. So we're like, we want to take a freshman. So we take him. We're going to redshirt him. Kid makes a mistake, so he gets to play. Kid comes back from the mistake, who's very good. He's playing well. So a third kid now gets taken down as a peg. This kid makes another mistake, so he's gone. And now the kid that we were going to redshirt keeps going. And then in December, we start him. And he starts the whole year. And I brought them both in. I said, guys, listen, don't take this the wrong way. And only take this for what it's worth. If you're playing for us as a junior and senior, you failed yourself. There's so much money out there. There's so much stuff going on. If you don't chase the money and you do exactly what we ask you to do, look at Chaz, look at Jose, look at Jarius, look at the guys we've developed that have left and went and got paid. Like, just do what you're supposed to do. Coach, you're nuts. Why would you do that? That's stupid. But you know what the byproduct is? We win. We get a chance.
It's good for you. It's good for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is the way I say with the portal. You're either going to swim in it or you're going to drown. So it's one or the other. You're going to swim or you're going to drown. So it is what it is. It's going to be. They're trying to poach them. They've been poaching them forever. They try to poach Dallas. They try to poach Bo. They try to poach them all.
That's a huge rabbit hole. Let me complete the Chaz Lanier thing. So just so people know the context, last year season, 19.7 points per game, 51% shooting and 44% from three. Obviously incredible efficiency and everything like that. Declared for the
Number
draft.
one in the country.
Yeah, and declared for the draft and came back, and now he's going to Tennessee. And just because you mentioned his name enough, an incredible story of development, and a development, to you said, that benefits you and your program, benefits him, and is just the reality nowadays.
5'6" as a ninth grader, 6'4", grew 10 inches. COVID, so he never came on a visit. Comes in, had a horrible COVID year, just ebbs and flows. He missed 21 straight days, the whole 9 yards. I just told this to Alonde yesterday, who was a senior on that team, would play one-on-one after every game because he never played. Never played. You know how many points he scored as a freshman?
No.
17. And 11 of the 17 were with 3 games to go in the season because we had so many guys on COVID that we had to start them. And we had to win the game to finish 4th. And he ends up getting 11 and helps us win the game. He hadn't played all year. He could barely breathe. And so fast forward, we're out here at graduation with his family. And I said, hey, there's 2 things I got to share with you guys. Number one, Chaz, you didn't notice mom and dad called me. I was right outside of Trader Joe's and they were concerned when you were a freshman. So once I took care of that and helped explain to them about the reality of college basketball, mom and dad, I want you guys to know, I know that you were thinking about transferring between your sophomore and junior year. And I said, because I asked Chaz and I asked him and I said, why didn't you? Because Jose was back, Jarius was back, Carter was back. Why didn't you leave? And he said, Coach, I love you. I love the program. I love the staff. I love how we play. Everything was great. The only thing is I wanted to be more and do more. And I said to myself, you know what? Do it then. Bet on yourself. And then that's when at the end of the year, he started rolling. And I think he tasted it. And then after that, you couldn't. He's the first player in history of the league to go 50, 40, 90 with over, I think he had over, I don't forget, he had over 50 made threes in the league and something else.
It's a beautiful story, Coach.
Yeah,
Beautiful story. Hey,
and a great human being. Great human being. Dad
Can we also add something really quickly? You're the all-time win leader in the ASUN now.
Yeah, it's an honor. It's an honor. And we've
but it speaks to 2 things, right? Which I've heard you talk about in a few interviews. Longevity, obviously, and obviously doing your best. And we can talk about doing your best, but as a young coach, longevity was not the goal, right? It was doing your best, moving up and all that. But really, longevity is the goal, and you've achieved that.
Thank you. We had a couple opportunities and we were flowing a little bit and things didn't come to fruition for the right reason. And when you talk about what you just said, the way in which you go about it, the way in which you approach it, the way in which you approach every day in your university and how you try to beat a difference with people, the quality of life is as important. And believe me, now they wanted to fire me and they wanted to do different things because it wasn't whatever. And so it's you just got to keep on battling, keep on fighting. But I think, Chris, number one, staff, Bobby, the whole time, Bruce the whole time, except he left for Tech and came back. Coach Perkins now 12th season, but he was with me at Baylor since 06. And now my son's on the staff who played on our championship teams and whatnot. So I think I think that's part of it. And then number two is, here's how we go about it. Character, not characters. And I think we do a really good job with that. If I could have told you today some of the things that I asked the guys at lunch, I got these questions. I ask them about different stuff, whatever. If you were going to be in a movie, who would you want to co-star, that kind of stuff. But I also ask them some questions about the guys. And it's just amazing to hear some of the stuff. But so character. And then the next thing we really concentrate on is chemistry, whether it be positionally or how you're going to do these things. Because if you don't have the locker room, if you don't have the apartments, if you don't have the outside community, it's really hard to win a championship. You can win, but it's hard to win a championship when talent's equal. Character is going to separate you. So character, then chemistry, and then the last thing is competence. And you're like, coach, dribble, pass, and shoot. And if a guy's not quite this or a guy's not quite that, we feel, because we do such a good job, that we can develop, right? And get these guys to understand conceptually what that's going to look like. And so we feel like that's order. It's just been a success for us.
It's absolutely amazing. And I've enjoyed every part of your journey. The thing that has stood out to me in our 25-year relationship.
27.
Okay. 27-year relationship. You love people. Like,
Right.
You authentically love people, and that shines through. And everyone talks about relationships and all that. That's so important. And I get that, they are, but you authentically are a curious mind who loves people.
I love the curious part of it. And I tell you something else too, Chris.
Well, it's not you telling me. When we have a conversation, coach, it's not you telling me, it's you asking. It's a big difference. And you know that. You've been around so many people in your lifetime. Yeah, that's not the way with everyone.
No, not at all. I just was fortunate. I just officiated my 9th player, but my 8th player's wedding, but it was my 9th player's wedding. One guy was twice, same wife, pre-COVID, post-COVID. But it's amazing when you go back to these now, and now you're starting to talk with all the guys that are coming back. And you're hearing stories. Some of them you don't want to hear all of it, but you do. And now I'm starting to feel better about myself, that even though I think that I had all these things in place, there actually were some things that were transpiring that I didn't know. And kids were, unfortunately, being kids, being college kids and doing certain things, not raping, robbing, and pilfering, but just whatevers. And so as you go through this and you listen to these guys, listen to this, Chris. I'm going to tell you why I'm really honored. And when it's over, I know God's going to pull me from here and take me whenever he wants to take me, to whatever place he wants to take me to, and have me do whatever. My last wedding a couple of weeks ago, he had 2 best men. He was that 1,600-point scorer on the last championship team and is going to be in the Hall of Fame. Who do you think his 2 best men were? Take a guess.
Point guard and you?
Okay.
Oh, you were officiating though, right?
I officiated, yeah.
Yeah.
2 managers.
Oh, okay.
And just as a coach, we got 14 guys. We give them nothing. T-shirt and some smoothies, whatever. But that's part of our culture. And these guys, and 2 managers are his best men. And them dudes, when they talked up there, if you could have heard them talk, like I'm washing his jock strap, I'm rebounding his shots, and it just makes you feel so good that but at the end of the day, you still got to win. And so that's what I love about this group. We have more foreign kids than I've ever had before. We have a kid from Russia that's a unique kid, dad, a great player in Russia, who's had an incredible story. He's in his 4th school in 4 years. And a lot of people would say, whoa. And I just had lunch with him. And he's just been such a joy to be around. He comes in the office almost every day and gets a peanut butter and jelly, and we just talk about whatever.
Is peanut butter legal now?
Oh, was it illegal?
No, well, I don't know. I remember something of when you're a long time ago, I was in your office saying, I'm allowed to give this type of protein, but not this type of protein.
Oh, yeah, now it's legal. Yeah, now it's legal.
These archaic rules.
but it's really cool. we got a kid from Canada who's playing for the Albanian national team over in the FIBA under-20s in Romania. And just spending the time I've spent with him, and we got a kid from Australia, of course. And so I'm super, it's been, I know the portal's been the portal, but it also has been almost like a new awakening, so to speak, where you got to embrace it. And they don't know what they don't know. And you know that.
Yeah.
They really don't.
You mentioned it, and I was certainly a part of the high and the low in a sense, and there was no low. That's the thing. There was no low. It was just this moment of insecurity from
What do you
your
mean by
athletic
low? What do you
department.
mean by low?
You've never had a bad season, really.
Oh,
No. Yeah, that's what I mean. But
not after we played those 5 to 7 money games every year.
okay, that's a whole nother story. I can tell coaches quickly. One time when I visited Coach Driscoll in his office, like I'm looking at this board going, what is this board all about? And it's about you having to raise $1 million in basically games. Traveling for 2 straight weeks, playing Power Fives on the road. And
Yeah. It actually was 500,000. So I don't want
$1 million sounds better in the story. But what I mean by that is that there's a moment in your program, not you, the program, like the university, where they're like, oh, we can do better. And then I've talked to so many coaches that are like really killing it at a place where they haven't killed it before. And all of a sudden you've raised the expectations, and now there's a little bit of insecurity in the department and the university going, wait a minute, we should get someone else because we can do even better. And they didn't do it for whatever reason. And you have kept doing it at a really high level. And that's a big moment, is it? And talk to us about that process, because that's got to be hard.
It is hard. It's very hard for me mentally. It's very hard for me. I'm always living in that moment. When are they going to do whatever? I got a year left. After this year, I got a year left on my contract. What are they going to do? Where's it going to go? Now that I'm older, but I always worry about what's Bobby going to do? What's Bruce going to do? What's Steven going to do? I know they're older. What's Chase going to do? I know they're older, but it bothers me. I got a lot of people that I'm responsible for. And I think that's important. The way in which you carry yourself, the way in which you do anything is how you do everything. You know that. And so if you go at it like this, and I want to go at that, and I don't ever want to be in that position where they're making a decision. So I want to help make the decision for them that we're winning, we're doing these things the right way, and all that kind of stuff. So it is what it is. And obviously men's basketball here without football, we are at the pinnacle. And I say this publicly, like the president's got his seat, but forget about me as me, whoever sits in this seat, like that NCAA tournament and what that means and what it does for the school and what it did for the school and how that all transpires to just to money and students and enrollment and research and your degree worth and what that all looks like, especially when you're only a 50-some-plus-year-old university. And so all that stuff matters to me. And so I wear that with a heaviness on my heart, knowing that every day when I walk out, I can't tell you the number of times every single day that, and I could just be speaking on an aisle next door to Carrie. And all of a sudden I'll turn the corner and, oh, coach, that is you. I hear on the radio all the time. I know that voice anywhere. And that's just part of it. When you got to embrace it and not run from it and be humble with it, and then be the difference in whatever that looks like. Whenever we're done, not now, but whenever we're done, if you'd allow me to share the screen, I want to show something, because I want to end with something I think is important for your audience and for you, because I'm the only thing I'm concerned about as we move through this. I don't know what people are calling it, but we move through this ability for us to move. How many guys are going to move at the end of the summer because they didn't like what their move was, that they're going to move again? How many guys are going to do this, that, or the other and never embrace a Chaz Lanier and fighting through it and growing through it and doing all these kind of things? And I want to show you something, and I want to talk about something at the end that goes along with it, because that concerns me. Because I think people have a great opportunity in front of them, but they also have to embrace the fact that they have a great opportunity in front of them.
Coach, like nobody will be shocked by this, but I prepare for podcasts, and I haven't used one question that I prepared for you, which is brilliant. No, it's brilliant, Coach. This is exactly what I would expect from talking to you. It's amazing. No, I love it, and we should do this.
Maze is a good word.
Yeah, when you retire, we'll do this monthly. We'll do this monthly and just add value.
Let me tell you something, which is crazy. And I told us to the staff the other day. whenever you get put in a situation, whatever it looks like, especially with all this portal stuff, revert back to COVID. Right? We all got smacked in the mouth. How in the world are we going to do this? And we struggled. If you don't know this, but there's a guy going to start in Missouri this year. It's going to make over $500,000. And he came in with Chaz. So I think we know how to recruit. And like COVID taught us a lot of stuff. You can play back to back. You can do this. You can practice this way. There's a lot of things we learned.
You can be adaptable.
But it took away our summer.
Yeah.
Couldn't do summer. So what did we do? I don't have it on my computer here, but we did basketball 101. And we did every Tuesday and Thursday because we still were allowed to use the time. And I think it was, I don't even know what it was. It doesn't matter. But like we did basketball 101 and we had a particular scenario. And then we went into breakout rooms. One guy did the defense, one guy did the offense, somebody did under OB, somebody did whatever. And we talked through that. And then we came back out of that and we had a mental part. I was showing all kind of stuff that I had put together from different people's podcasts.
Was this on Zoom or was this live?
All Zoom.
Yeah.
Then we had a guest speaker. So guys from the bubble, I was very fortunate to have guys from the bubble and former players and all these guys pour into these guys. And then at the end, you know what I did? Had a quiz. We built a quiz. Then we gave them a quiz. And then then they turned it in and we had the results and all that kind of stuff. But my point is, we built this thing. And I told the staff the other day, guys, if we took that and actually cleaned it all up, and we could actually monetize that if we wanted to. We just went through an entire summer program for a college basketball team on the internet with clips and footage and terminology. And we had
Don't be giving away these ideas, Coach. We'll monetize it when you retire. Let's go.
One of the quizzes was the terminology. What is number 8? What position is number 8? What position is number 2? What do we call this? Why do we get to this? So anyways, my point to you is we learned a lot from COVID. And adaptability is a great word that we learned. And I think that's what the portal's doing, at least for me.
Adaptability, not repeatability, is something I say all the time. And you showed it at the beginning when you showed us kind of your season plan, and then you showed us all your old notebooks from all the seasons. And it's great to have them, but they don't apply as much anymore, do they? You can't just plug and repeat. And I think that's good. I think it's good for basketball. I think it's good for players, and it definitely makes it more interesting for you. You probably never have a boring day, right?
No, I didn't have a boring day before, but I'm gonna tell you something else. But it really has taught me, like I'm that guy. I'm OCD to the nth. Like I'm working on something right now, and I'm just OCD to the nth. However, since I walked off that plane and started thinking about even more and more, now I'm like, oh crap, maybe I shouldn't have been. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maybe all this time I could have been doing. And then I thought to myself, no, don't say that, because that's what made us who we were. And that's what you felt was the right thing at the right time. But at least you're willing to change. And so I think mastering this change is what I'm really trying to accomplish.
It's definitely the one constant now in college basketball is you're not going to have the same roster. It's going to change. And it's okay. You're going to figure it out, and the best people will figure it out. Coach Driscoll, you mentioned a few things, but you mentioned something that you wanted to end with. And you're going to share your screen just for coaches at home. So I'll make sure I clip this out so that I can share it on Twitter, or you can go watch it on YouTube. But dots on a map, Coach, can you talk to us about that?
When I was at Baylor, there was a guy named Jay Allison, who's a great player, and he was a very good, made a lot of money and donated a lot, but he had a great sense about himself, and he really shared some things with me and made me better. And he talked about this 20 some years ago when I was at Baylor. And it reminds me a lot about a lot of things. So I've talked about this a lot. And this is how I go about all I do in leadership, being the difference, all those things, because everybody wants instant gratification. Everybody wants microwave world. Everybody wants those certain things. But in reality, for instance, Russ Triaga, he was a JV basketball coach in the mid-90s when I was working camp at Clemson. We get the job here Fast forward, he calls me and we take a player in a transfer in 2009 that ends up in our Hall of Fame. And so those dots that you put in certain places, Clemson in that case, but the one I think is not the one, but there's one particular that I want to share, and that's Laramie, Wyoming. And I think what's important is if you don't embrace where your feet are planted, you're really going to have a hard time understanding not only who you are, but what your real value is and what your purpose is. And if you don't understand your purpose, then you can't move forward. But you got to be genuine in what you do. And so while you're there, freshman, while you're there, sophomore, while you are coach, assistant coach, all assistant coaches want to be head coaches, all those kind of things. If you just embrace where your feet are planted with a genuine purpose, the rest of it will take care of itself. You just have to believe, have faith that someday it's going to transpire. Treating others the way you want to be treated is awesome. But my dad always said this at the end, but not the way they're treating you. And this goes back to you and I. As we've gone through our relationship, you and I know, because we've had many conversations, as people grow in the profession, as people grow in their notoriety, as people grow, sometimes they lose connection or they lose feel for what got them to where they are and those kind of things, which is unfortunate. And you've got to be able to treat people the way you want to be treated, no matter how they're treating you. And so back in Laramie, Wyoming, this is where 27 years ago, this is where our dot started. As you came down from right up here from the Canadian border, you came down and you hung with us. That's where
just for reference, I was driving to the University of Victoria to do my master's degree. And on the way there, I said, why don't I work basketball camps? And I called Wyoming and I ended up talking to you.
And three of you stayed at the house. I've never met you before in my life.
Yep.
And so as we go there and we build these dots, they come back to full fruition, like you and I right now. And then your relationship with Coach Shyatt, your relationship with whomever else came out of that. I think us two specifically, but whoever else is there anybody else that you've worked on the
1 degree of separation? Like the list is incredible, right?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm just talking, so Coach Shyatt and I, right? But here's where people go wrong. We can all disagree, you and I. This is what I want. This is what I want to share with you. We can disagree about whatever it is we want to disagree with. And we can not be on the same page about whatever we're not on the same page with. At some point, we have to come to an understanding that either I'm going to be disappointed or you're going to be disappointed. You're not going to love me any less. I'm not going to love you any less. It's just in this particular thing, we just don't mesh, which is okay. When I was at Laramie, Coach got the Clemson job, which is another dot right there. When I was here at Laramie in 1998, the athletic director, Lee Moon, brought me into his office. He offered me a really good amount of money. He offered my wife a really good amount of money to be a cheerleading coach. And he wanted us to stay with Steve McLean, who went on to win and then left and went and got some other jobs as well. Could I have been the next head coach at Wyoming? Maybe. Coach Moon shared that a little bit during that time, but he went through all this process. And I said, Coach, I appreciate it, but I'm going with Coach Shyatt and I'm going to Clemson. And then it turned, and Coach Moon knows this, I've said this publicly, this isn't new, and then turned a little bit in the wrong direction. What are you doing? You don't know what you're doing. The people that I know, I've been in this business, I can do this and this. Coach, I get it, but I'm going to Clemson with Coach Shyatt. One more time, he came at me and I took it. And at the end, I let him speak. And I said, listen, Coach, we're done having a conversation. I'm getting up and I'm leaving. And I'm going to Clemson with Coach Shyatt. And I left. That's 1998. In 2009, 11 years later, he's the athletic director at the University of North Florida that hires me. And so my point is, even though you and I disagree on some stuff, maybe from a basketball perspective, or he and I disagreed on which job was the best job, or you and your wife have a disagreement about whatever that is, or you and your children have a disagreement about whatever that is, just make sure that disappointment's part of it, but love never leaves what is the reality of, and he loved me and I loved him. And in that moment, it just didn't look like it. But he hired me in 2009 because of those same things. And I think that's so important as we go through life and these different transfers come into us, or these different players start putting these dots. When I officiate these guys' weddings, I talk about this. This is how I start the wedding. We're all here for an unbelievable greater purpose for these two. But why are we here? How did we get here? What's the dot that's connected us to be here in this moment? And I urge you to go back and start. And it's amazing the amount of people that come up to me and they're like, man, that's so good, because I'm looking at these different things that have transpired. And if you think about you specifically and what you've gone through and your transition and the jumps that you've made and the way in which Jen has impacted women and what she's done for women and how the girls have grown to be who they are now, but more importantly, inside what they are, you look at those dots on a map and you say to yourself, okay, what's put us where we are now? What's connected us? And really, if you think about it, this dot started the whole thing.
Laramie, Wyoming.
It started the whole thing. Laramie, Wyoming. It started that whole transition. So,
Coach, it made my coaching career, and a big part of the reason where I am right now and doing what I'm doing is because of Laramie, Wyoming. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so take the family there and visit one day. We just want
we've been back, and we went to I took my daughters to Cheyenne. I did a camp in Cheyenne last year.
It's awesome.
I will never say a no to Wyoming. It just has a special place in my heart, and it's because of you and Coach Scheid and Carrie and everyone else in Scheid's family, and just incredible.
But also too, Chris, though, think back to what you just said, though. If you don't pick up the phone and you don't make the call, then nothing transpires. And I think that's the hardest part about life. Nobody wants to hear no. Nobody wants to be disappointed. Nobody wants to, no, we're full. Canada, no, we don't take Canadians. No, who do you think you are? Pick up the phone and call. And then next thing you know, if it's a no, it's a no.
And let's talk about that part of it, because Coach, look, I still respond to absolutely every correspondence I get. I respond to it. I can't always help everyone. And I think people respect that. There's some things I just can't do. I can't. That's just it. And you can't do everything you want to do for everyone either. That's just the reality. But the fact is, I know that Coach Driscoll will still respond to everybody, and I'll still respond to everybody. And that somewhere, I hope I never lose that. I hope you never lose that. And I hope all coaches never lose that, because we are all part of this journey for everyone. And as I said, you never know where your dot on the map comes back to. You never know.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? And other things too, right? There's guys coming in and Scott Howard's a good one. The Nuggets, like I've known Scott forever and I ain't talked to him in forever. And all of a sudden he's in my gym sitting there watching Chaz Lanier. And so it's just, I'm with you on that. I tell you the thing, I get more, I want to be a GA than anything else. And I have a stock sentence. Thanks for the email. I really appreciate you reaching out. You said some really nice, kind things, which is nice of you. However, we don't have paid GAs. Keep pressing on. And it's amazing how many respond back. They just say, hey, thanks. At least you responded.
Because you responded.
Yeah. Now, every once in a while.
I know we talked about it off air, but man, I reach out to people and I'm 1 degree of separation from them, saying I know someone that knows them. And I don't get responses sometimes. It's still the way of the world. It just happens. And look, I'm not here judging that person either. You just move on. You just move on. But it's just the reality. And I am so grateful that you responded. And not just responded, you told me, why not work 2 weeks?
Hey, it was a good camp.
It was a great camp.
Great weather too.
Passion to improve.
That's
I still remember the slogan. And
with the
look,
guy shooting a layup.
Coaches, you got to go look at this video on YouTube or some of the clips that I share, and you'll just see Coach's background. And you've always been.
I have that blanket on. It's on one of the boys has it because she made a blanket from every school.
You're all right, brother. I'm a big fan. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Coach, and all the best to you.